Before we start the video, please take a moment to consider your own mental health and the state of being that you're in currently. If you feel that you are vulnerable in any way to either side of the spectrum of EDs, maybe skip this video and catch me on the next one. Because this, my nuggets, is going to get uncomfortable. Welcome back, Nuggets. This mother clock has got some thoughts. Let's ruffle some feathers and get into the video. And if you would like to support my baby chick of a channel, please consider liking, subscribing, and hyping this video. And don't forget to go check out my other videos while you're here. Okay, so my nuggets. I've been working on this video for a while. It started out as this quick mother clucker, look at how unbelievable this AI channel is, and let's all collectively say that this is unacceptable and we can't believe it's on YouTube. And then I started digging and digging, and I had questions sprung up in my mind, and all of a sudden, before I know it, this video got long and it got dark. Now, something to mention, there's a great deal of content that I want to discuss in this video that is basically the result of my falling down a research rabbit hole, none of which YouTube is going to appreciate on their free to view level access without age restricting. And something about age restricting, in case you weren't aware, it actually causes to channels that are still growing and as small as mine is at the moment, it actually causes quite a bit of issue with the algorithm and the way that you go on a list that you're not accurately representing the ads, and it's a whole thing, and it lasts for a while. So it's not something that I'm interested in putting my channel at risk for, and if this video does get age restricted, I will be pulling it down, cleaning it up a bit, and putting it back to see if that works better. So after polling you, my nuggets, and thank you so much for those who offered suggestions and voted in the poll on my post tab, what I'm going to do is I will be putting up the AI video and my thoughts and reactions to two channels in particular as the free to view. And then on my YouTube memberships and on my Patreon, I'm going to release an uncut version, which will be discussing the topics that I really can't get into for YouTube. So Patreon will come with two options. You don't necessarily have to subscribe like on a monthly basis. You can actually just purchase the video as a once-off, and I have literally put all of the prices as low as Patreon will let me, and then I've matched them on YouTube. They're literally less than a cup of coffee, so I'm hoping that this will be a way to be affordable for everybody, because I was really toing and froing about this because I didn't want it to come off as looking like a money grab, or now I'm just, in it to get paid and all that. But at the same time, I want to discuss these things, and they take a lot of time. I've sunk so many hours of work. So I'm really hoping that everybody understands where I'm coming from with this. If it works well, I'll probably look to doing this more often, because in the past, there's actually been quite a bit that I've wanted to discuss, but I've known that it would get age restricted on YouTube. So I've just kind of left it out of the conversation. And considering that many of you resonate quite a lot with my deep dive and my research and things like that, I think this is stuff that you're going to want to hear. A very quick mention that very shortly I am going to be putting named thank yous to all of the people who support on Patreon and YouTube memberships. After my last video, I've already had one person come forward saying, I'd like to stay anonymous. So if you don't want your name at the end of the video on the thank yous, let me know. DM me on my social media that I've got written in the description, and I will just represent you as a little chicken emoji. I'll be giving a few more warnings for that before I do it. So without further ado, let's get into this video. Now, this video has been on my to-do list for quite a while. I'm going to be discussing the very now turned infamous channel of Love Eugenia Cooney, and with a special mention of a channel called Spicy. So we're going to be focusing mostly on Love Eugenia Cooney. And if you've never heard of this channel before, this is a channel that I've actually credited before for using clips. It used to be a really, really good resource for capturing TikTok lives and little clips from old videos. And it used to be an invaluable resource for channels like mine to be able to grab these clips and say, hey, you know, this is illustrating what I'm talking about. But it actually started coming up on my radar probably earlier this year, where some very controversial AI videos were being created in Eugenia's image. Although this started, it seemed to start around October last year, and I'm actually going to go through the chronological developments of this channel. Although it did start around October last year, it kind of started trickling in with these AI videos, and now it's more often than not representing AI created images about Eugenia. So this once resource level channel has now turned into something much, much darker and much, much more sinister than I think perhaps a lot of you might realize. And it's a little bit frustrating because when I go in, you know, part of my research for is there any Eugenia news, or I don't just do this for Eugenia, of course, but when I go into YouTube, and one of the parts of research I do is to filter the search by upload date, because then I can see the likes of Law Realistico and things like that pop up with things that may have happened recently in lives or new sightings or, you know, whatever the case may be. But increasingly, that search is being filled more and more with some extremely unhinged AI stuff as I go through, because they're still currently uploading. Now, there's going to be a lot of ethical questions that I raise in this video, and I'm really interested to hear what your opinion is. I think it's okay if we don't necessarily have an answer for the questions that I'm going to pose, because this is an incredibly complex situation that I have stumbled upon. Okay, so let's just go back a little bit through the history, and then I'm going to break things down by category, because there's quite a few different types of videos that this channel create. Now, the way I'm going to structure this video is I'm going to start off with the absolute lightest, least intimidating videos, and we're going to gradually get worse and worse and worse as the video goes on. So if at any point you feel like, wow, this is a little bit much for me, I'm going to dip, that's cool. Okay, you can at that point, and you will be in control of your own comfort levels for this video. So a little bit of interesting context about this channel, because I just did a little bit of research into what people have been saying about this channel. And I think for the most part, aside from a couple of posts here and there, this has largely flown under the radar. And I have no clucking idea how this has happened. So Love Eugenia Cooney has been around for like years, and it's racked up a massive 250,000 subscribers. Now, that is a big channel, right? And this is just a clip channel, just re-uploading things that Eugenia has done. Interestingly, thanks to Reddit, they actually suspect that this person has a second channel called Love Wildman Chris. The kind of content that is on this channel as well that kind of makes sense that this could be the same person is there is still a lot of Eugenia content and the same sorts of Eugenia content, plus with the similar names, and if you'll notice, really similar subscriber counts. Now, this Love Wildman Chris channel only has like 40 videos on it, and while it is possible that maybe there were a lot more videos that have been deleted, does it not strike you a little odd that these two channels have very similar names and very similar subscriber counts? And it does actually kind of make me wonder if perhaps these subscribers were not gained legitimately. I have no backing to prove that. Don't get me wrong, this is just a gut feeling that something about these two channels sitting side by side like this look a little bit weird. One other thing I'll note as well, the videos that go up do not get views that represent having this many subscribers, which would also be another backing to say that I don't think these are actual subscribers. But feel free to check them out if you want to. To be honest, I hesitated making this video because I'm like, I'm just going to be bringing more attention to these channels that really, really don't need the extra attention. But if you want to, if you're curious, go check them out. So as I said, up until October of 2024, this was just a clip channel. And then around this time, this channel started just taking the usual Eugenia clips, but then putting AI songs about Eugenia over the top of them. And I feel like at this point, a lot of people were playing with AI around this time, and particularly when it started being not just images that could be created, that was a very exciting point for a lot of people who ultimately have no creative skill at all, right? So I think this is fairly benign at this point. And I just wanted to show you a little bit of how this works as well, in case you didn't know. Basically, if you have a look at this AI video, basically what this person has done is take images. This is from a photo shoot that Eugenia did on her Instagram, and you can see that the outfit is the same. And then when it's run through the AI program, it's able to take the image, and you can see all of the blurring of the rock around the legs and where it's trying to work out, you know, what should be where and what's moving and what's not, and in order to put the car behind her. And this is another example as well. This one was from December of 2024. And this is also taken from another video that is a real video, and then it's just replacing the food that's in front of her. And we're actually going to see, it's kind of, I'll put them side by side when it's time, but you'll actually see the improvements, the very scary and realistic improvements that AI has gone through from mid last year to now. It's coming a long way very quickly. Okay, so let's get started with the first category that I would like to label nonsensical. Now, I just want to make mention, my nuggets, I do not have the entire internet memorized, and I largely have a fairly busy life where I don't spend a lot of time keeping up to date on memes. So if I miss any memes, feel free to let me know what they are if you want to. Don't if you don't. There may be things here that have gone over my head, but this just looks completely insane to me at this level. It doesn't make sense. I don't get it. And what we're going to start doing from here is really analyzing the motivations of this individual. So when I say nonsensical, this is an example of what I mean. So you get it? It's like, it's kind of odd. It doesn't really do anything. It's still at that early phase where it just looks really bad, but there's also a lot of like dancing game shows, things like that. So yeah, if you see what I mean, it's just kind of very benign, just kind of weird, nonsensical stuff, right? And I mean, she gets yeeted by Giles. She climbs up Christmas tree in triplicate. I don't know. But this one here is actually a really good example. Do you see how good that video looks compared to the first one that we looked at? You can really see this looks a lot more believable. But the funny thing about AI videos is that there's always errors in them. It's like it doesn't quite capture movement right, or appearances right, or feet or hands or, you know, fingers. There's always something wrong in them at this stage. And I think at the moment that's a really good thing, because it enables us to very easily be able to detect. It's like the uncanny valley thing where we look at it, we go, no, this is not right. And we know it's not right. But the scary thing is I don't know how long we are away from it being like where you can't tell at all the difference between AI generated and real footage. And I just wanted to put this here as well, because this is something else I don't get. And we're definitely going to get into this a lot more as the video goes on. But like, this is clearly not Eugenia. This doesn't even look like Eugenia. The only thing that is representative is the hair and the weight level, right? But this person clearly enjoys making this kind of content regardless of the fact that it doesn't even accurately represent her. And this one is a good example too. This is actually a really, really recent one, as at recording, only within a few days prior. And you can see that there's something wrong with the back. I don't know. I've tried to zoom in, I've tried to pause it. I can't work out what it's supposed to be, if it's supposed to be anything, or if it's just AI glitching out in that way. This is where we start to go, is this a little bit weird to be making? And I think it raises a really interesting ethical or moral line of, do you think it's okay to make an AI video in somebody's image, somebody like a real person's image? This is not just creating an AI video of some random that doesn't exist. This is directly supposed to be in Eugenia's image. This is not a channel that's run by Eugenia. As far as I know, this is not a channel that she's given her consent to do either. And so where do you fall on that line? Do you think it's okay to make AI videos in a real person's image? And that actually got me thinking. See, this is where this whole thing started unraveling for me. I actually got to thinking about the second to last Eugenia video I did, the one where, she was totally in Wyoming with Jeffrey. I put an image in my thumbnail of her and Jeffrey together. Now, they were a Photoshop image of a photo of Jeffrey with a different model, and then I put Eugenia in there and I cut them out. And I think it's really clear that it's Photoshopped because, part of my style in my thumbnails is to look badly Photoshopped. But is that not the same thing? Because it's interesting, isn't it, when you think about consent to this kind of level? She doesn't explicitly consent to me making videos about her, but you could say on one level that there is implied consent because she's been online for so many years and there's been people making videos and talking about her for so many years. She hasn't made any effort to get off the internet to stop that happening. So the fact that she continues to make videos and other people continue to make videos about her, there is a level of I know you're going to be doing this about me and I'm just going to keep doing my thing anyway. Do you get what I mean? But that's not explicit consent. So is my photoshopping Eugenia and Jeffrey together on the same level as these AI videos? And I think as we get further through the video, I think the vast majority of people will say that there is a difference between what I'm doing and what this person is doing. But that would insinuate that we're then on the same spectrum and there is a line somewhere. So where is it? And what is the issue? Is it the fact that it's AI creating it? But even though there's somebody there feeding the AI to create it, it's not like AI has decided to start making videos about Eugenia. There is a person behind it. And likewise, there is a person sitting behind Photoshop making thumbnails, right? It's an interesting thing to think about. And you know how this mother clucker likes to think about thinking. And that's what I do. So let me know what you think. Where is the line? In your opinion? There are people out there that I totally get that think that I am exactly on the same level as these AI videos. And that's absolutely okay. And people are entitled to think that way. Yes, it's interesting, isn't it? Okay, so moving on into a series theme. The person that runs the Love Eugenia Cooney channel began doing series of videos where clearly it's been one clip or one photo that's been used to then create the same sort of thing but in multiple scenarios. And this kind of thing started at the beginning of the year. And a good example of this is I don't know why this is a thing. I can't Imagine why. And I think the biggest part of my issue with these videos is that clearly I'm not the demographic for these videos, so I don't get them. I don't understand them. If you have some kind of insight, I'm interested to hear what you think. But there's a good example of the series of the one video being used for multiple situations is this. There's so many videos being made where she's just feeding all different kinds of animals. And I don't really understand why this is fun or why this is titillating in any way or, whatever the case may be. But it is a good example of this kind of series thing that I'm describing. And this is where we're going to start getting a little bit more concerning. So this person did a series where Eugenia became actually a real doll that has been made and was put up for sale on Etsy at one point. But this video turns her from real life Eugenia into the doll. And then there's a whole bunch of Barbie related scenes around this. And something, if I'm analyzing behavior and what this brings to mind, we start to get a little bit darker on this level because no longer is it just, she's dancing with some characters or, feeding some cute animals. Now we're saying doll. And what a doll means to me is something that is completely inanimate and useless until it's being played with. Or maybe it's to be put on a shelf and admired, but never to be touched, never to have real life experiences. And maybe this hits a little bit hard for me because I may have said it in other videos too, I myself likened myself to a porcelain doll with the way that my mother viewed me because I was designed to just sit there and look pretty and never get dirty and, never have opinions of my own or any sort of agency. And to me, to put somebody in a place of being a doll, that has some sinister undertones to it. This person also did a series of 3 videos that were a little interesting. And I think it shows what kind of channel this has always been. Because the thing is, it's really common for people to go, people that make videos on Eugenia are just obsessed with her. And why are they so obsessed with her? And, it's a common thing that I see quite a bit on my videos. And while I do agree that there probably are some channels out there and there are some people that are legitimately obsessed with her in an unhealthy way, I do think the vast majority of channels are not feeling that way. It's just that Eugenia is an interesting person with an interesting set of circumstances. And in my case, a very apt illustration of the things that I've gone through and the lessons that I've learned. And she makes a good analogy, in a sense, or a metaphor for the greater things that we're all experiencing and learning about and things like that. But this channel, the things that these videos say are extremely complimentary about Eugenia in what she's achieved, in her demeanor, and even her relationship with her mother, which very interestingly has the comments turned off, by the way. I think what we're seeing a little bit of a window to with these videos is that we actually have an individual here that I think has an unhealthy attachment to Eugenia. I do believe that this might be a situation where we've gone from admiration to fascination to infatuation to obsession. I do think that there might actually be some manner of twisted love underpinning all of this. And I'll show you what I mean. I'll show you some clips from these videos.
If you don't like negativity but still love heartwarming stories, then you need to hear about Eugenia Cooney. She always thanks her fans for their donations and offers words of encouragement to those who need it most. Her friendship with Jeffree Star showcases her supportive side. So next time you need a dose of inspiration, remember Eugenia Cooney, a true testament to the power of kindness.
In 2019, she took a brave step towards her health, spending time in rehab. Her comeback in July 2019 was a turning point, showing a commitment to her well-being.
Eugenia and her mom, Deborah, are inseparable. Whether it's taking Buzz, their adorable pug, for a walk, or scoring great deals on a TJ Maxx shopping spree, these two are always side by side. Ever seen their cooking videos on YouTube? They're an absolute blast. And let's not forget those special streams they do together on big occasions. Their bond is unbreakable and full of love. These heartwarming moments remind us all of the power of family.
And another thing about these AI videos too I find unusual is that they're not actually graphical representations of Eugenia. They just look like a bunch of stock footage clipped together with an audio overlay over it. So these really break the mold to me. And I do think that we're looking at something very telling about this individual. I mean, I do think it's possible that this is just rage bait. Let me know what you think about these videos. I think they're worth taking into account because they stand out as different compared to everything else. I think they say something. I don't think they're random. And I think they're probably some of the most telling in the collection that I have today. And in my travels, I have seen some theories floating about that it's the brother running this channel, and my gut says that's probably unlikely. I know that there have been some questionable drawings and things like that that her brother has done of her in the past, and I can totally see the link. But as we travel through, keep in your head, do you think it's the brother? Or do you think it might be more likely that it's somebody that pops up a lot in her TikTok live streams, somebody that perhaps delivers a lot of money to her, somebody that spends a lot of time watching her and supporting her? And there's a handful of gifters, shall we say, that I would put at the top of my list for being a potential candidate of running this channel. Okay, so the next theme is a horror/supernatural theme. Now, this is again an area that we start to see a little bit more of the motivation coming through, I believe. But I just wanted to take a moment to make a small mention of the channel Spicy. Now, this is also a channel that does AI videos about Eugenia, and they're all in the kind of context of the unalived sort of thing. And weirdly enough, while you see constantly in the Love Eugenia comment section of like, this is sick, why are you doing this? You know, you need to stop doing this. The Spicy channel is actually received a lot better. It's almost in a positive light. And I've been reflecting because in my mind, clearly my moral line for this sort of thing is I'm going to group them together. I do think they're different shades of inappropriate, but they are both still inappropriate. And I think the fundamental difference that people are seeing behind them is Spicy is not sexualizing Eugenia. It's like off-brand humor. It's a little, I would say in poor taste, but I think it's just that kind of humor element. Whereas, as you'll see as we go through, the Love Eugenia Cooney is very, very different to that. So the horror supernatural theme, it's like putting Eugenia in situations where she's Supergirl and she's saving Buzz, and I will make a mention this was before Buzz's passing, and putting her into horror movie kind of scenarios and things like that. Scenarios where she's being scared or surprised or even empowered in some situations. I'll show you this one, and guaranteed it has a jump scare. I'm going to tell you it has a jump scare. It's probably still going to get you. But just tell me, what do you think about this clip? Yeah. What is that? How do we delve into the psyche of somebody who makes this, who sits down with intent to go, I have this thought, this image in my head of what I want to create, and I'm going to sit down at a piece of software and describe to it what I want it to do, and then it's going to make it. And then I'm going to take it and upload it on the internet. What does that mean? So this person also did a handful, though not many at all, but a handful of videos that also included Deb. Weirdly enough, I actually think that the AI does Deb better than it does Eugenia. I don't think it can fully grasp the biology of Eugenia, if that makes sense. But Deb, it gets. Okay, and now we're going to move into part of what I think is the real motivation of this channel and the real infatuation and fascination of this channel. So once again, I'm just going to give a small trigger warning that we're going to get into the food stuff. So if you feel like this is getting a little bit far, absolutely, you can dip out now if you need to. Okay, so Eugenia did a post on her TikTok about Trump doing something with TikTok. Anyway, she went to a McDonald's and she sat and she took the tiny little Eugenia bite that we are familiar with from Eugenia taking bites of things on camera. And this was the original video. But then this person of this channel took this footage that Eugenia had posted and made post after post after post of Eugenia taking bites of all different kinds of food. And there were at least 12 different scenarios created in this series. I say at least because I'm not 100% if I managed to get all of them, and I don't know if any of them have been taken down. So the image that this is starting to create for me is that this person wants to see Eugenia eating food. And I think that could be taken a couple of ways, because on the surface of it, you might say, well, I mean, we all want to see Eugenia eating food, right? But not in this context and not in this way, and not against her consent like this. I think it's highly performative when she puts up these videos, but then to take them and twist them into something that she's not doing and that she's obviously completely uncomfortable doing, it makes me wonder if this is part of this person's predilection. Because why Eugenia? Why is it Eugenia eating junk food and not somebody else? Is it to do with her physiology that this person is interested in while also consuming the food? Again, taking this clip from Disney and adding drinks and adding food to it. Interestingly enough, these videos were created before that live stream that we saw her take a sip of fluid. And all I can think is looking at these and looking at how these have been created straight out of this person's mind into an AI piece of software. All I can think is, what was that person doing when she did actually drink? What was their reaction? And did they watch it over and over? It just starts to feel a little dark, doesn't it? Are you getting the ick yet, my nuggets? Because by this point, I absolutely was. And of course, the staff got her to make an ice cream, and then she kind of just handed it off or to take it to her mother or whatever. But of course, this person saw fit to actually make her eat the ice cream. And as you can see in the background here, like, I'm just taking little snippets of all of these videos. It's just one after the other, after the other, after the other. The food content on this channel far outweighs anything else, any other type of content that this person is creating. And then just recently, last month as it happened, there started to be a fascination of creating multiple of her consuming food. And do you see what I mean by the more we're kind of piling on, the more layers we're starting to uncover of this, the more it's starting to look like a predilection. And we are going to speak about that a little bit later. But I think what is most concerning about these, and after all of the research that I've done around this, both my research and my personal experience, is Eugenia is not consenting to these videos being made. I assume because I feel like if she was okay with these images, she would be making them herself, right? So this kind of video, just watch this one.
When we get saved again, it won't just be a burger I eat, but a Thanksgiving mukbang.
So now we're talking about putting Eugenia in a situation to literally do the opposite of what her condition is. And I can only imagine what kind of level of triggering this would cause in that kind of mindset. And I know that she's kind of been dealing with this kind of hate for a while, where it's like, I'll just eat a burger or whatever the situation is. But can you imagine being in her mindset with her condition and stumbling upon a video like this? Is this okay? Is this going to trigger her to make her worse? Is this going to inspire her to be worse? We're hitting on something here that is deeply concerning, I think, for Eugenia's well-being, assuming she has not consented to these videos being made. And as we move through this month, they start to get a little bit more suggestive, ending with this video here. And I don't know, maybe I'm the twisted cluck. Maybe I'm the only one seeing that this is predilection territory. If I am, tell me. Maybe this is completely innocent, but to my eye, this looks sinister. I don't like this. I am uncomfortable on Eugenia's behalf. I'm uncomfortable on the extrapolation of what this means for the future, because for my millennials out there, millennials and older, we saw the birth of the internet. We saw it rise to popularity, and we have seen it move to what it is today. And how quickly did the laws move with it? The laws of stalking, the laws of harassment, the laws of child endangerment and things like that. How quickly did all of the countries get together and work together to create the laws that would protect everybody that is online? I think a strong argument could be made that over 25 years later, we're still not there. And I think that's where my mind goes with the creation of these kind of videos where there are no laws around creating videos in people's likeness, making them do things that they would never do, putting them in scenarios that they would never be in. And that makes me deeply uncomfortable to think about basically what the world's going to look like for the next 20 years. And for my true crime nerds out there, like, by the way, is it not a worry that this could be used to frame someone? Like, is that not a concern? I was thinking that even when it was just audio, that was like really realistic versions of people's voices saying things that they never said. And I don't know, it's a whole thing. Honestly, I could do a whole series on it, on just that topic. But this does concern me. It concerns me for the future. It concerns me for Eugenia. And it concerns me for all of us, for that matter. Okay, and that brings us to my final theme, which is you have gone too far, far too far. So again, we're going to start off a little bit light and we'll move to the end. And we'll see if you have joined me in my assessment of things by the end of this theme. So we're kicking off with random hugging of things and starting off with none other than Jacqueline Glenn. So Eugenia is depicted hugging Jacqueline Glenn. Eugenia is depicted hugging different versions of herself. Eugenia is depicted hugging Nikocado, and that's it. It's just hugging different versions. I also wanted to mention, interestingly, and I might be way off base here because maybe this is an actual person. I couldn't find any reference like in the comments to this actually being somebody, which kind of makes me wonder if this individual represented in all of these different scenarios, is this the creator? Is this like him putting himself in the videos with Eugenia to like play out some kind of idea that he's had? And I could be way off base. Please tell me if you know who this is supposed to be representing. But it does stand out. I think when something stands out and it doesn't make sense, I think it's because it's telling about something or it's representing something in this way. And this person pops up time and time again in these different sort of scenarios with Eugenia. So then we move on to a whole host of videos of Eugenia basically in kind of unusual situations or struggling with something or dancing or being infantilized in some way. And then we have this video. And this one. And this one. And this one, which is actually a lone survivor of a series that has been deleted. One of the series that originally caught my eye to what was going on. And it was fairly explicit. This was the tamest, and it was re-uploaded recently. And if you see what I mean, you know, looking at the way Eugenia is portrayed here, What do you think she would be thinking if she were to look at this imagery of herself? Do you think that would be triggering in some way? How do you think that would affect her psyche? How do you think that would affect her actions? You know, because the way we see ourselves is not always body dysmorphia is a hell of a thing. The way we see ourselves is not always accurate, and sometimes it's complicated. Speaking from personal experience, I somehow manage to have a visual image. Like if I see myself in my mind's eye doing things, I have a visual of myself being thinner than I am. Yet when I see pictures of myself, I'm fairly confident that I see myself as larger than I am. And when I see a friend of mine actually did a drawing of my husband and I for our wedding, and it was basically just her version of a photo that we'd created, and I saw it, and she probably drew it accurately. But in my body dysmorphia mindset, I saw this and I thought, oh my God, is that what I look like to people? Is that how people see me? And I had a full-on crash over this drawing, which was not her fault. And she wasn't to know that that was an internal thing that I was battling at the time, and still am working to undo the programming from society and family and everything. But I worry that something like this shape, when it's so contrary to the reality of shape, I worry what that would do in Eugenia's mind. But yeah, let me know what you think about that, if you have any personal experiences that you'd like to share, because we are dealing with somebody here who has a very, very serious version of the condition that she has. And I just can't see this kind of thing being anything but harmful and being anything but pushing her in the wrong direction. And if I'm right about this person having some sort of twisted underpinning of love that has turned to like obsession, I wonder if it's even a case where Eugenia has stopped being a person to this person and just started being an object of fantasy. So, moving through some other videos that were created that I think are way crossing the line, we have Eugenia being assaulted by a character at Disney. We have this video.
All backwards into an open coffin.
Okay.
This is up, by the way. YouTube has not taken this down. This is still up. We have, and again, I'll just preface this was before Buzz's passing, but we have this video. Are we in predilection territory yet, my nuggets? This video that is not sexualized, but I think just going a little too far. Once again, I mean, these are all videos that Eugenia has actually made and then just modified. And this video is entitled Eugenia Cooney Tricked into 5150. And finally, this one was made on her birthday of this year. It depicts Buzz and her grandmother celebrating her 31st birthday. Just in case you missed it, both of these beings have passed now. So, I mean, poor taste, I think so. I don't know if this is kind of insinuating that she will be with them soon, but maybe that's applying too much artistic take on it. I don't know. But how does this video make you feel? And is this okay? Is this okay to be online? Now, just in case you still are not with me on the page, that this channel is a predilection style eccentric interest channel. I really had to do some digging because these were videos that I originally found that I was describing when I first kind of went, oh, okay, what is this channel doing? Now, these images I've censored, but these are stills made from a video of Eugenia showing off her new bikini. A clip of it is still able to be found on this channel. And this series of videos, so like the eating ones that I was describing, this was made in a series. So she was in this bikini doing a whole host of different things, including things like twerking, including doing strange things with Elmo, doing things like pouring cream down her back while she was in this position. And I don't think that these could be classed in any other way other than predilection territory. And I think what this person is doing, I think this person has concocted certain fantasies and scenarios scenarios in their head, and I think they're probably making these videos largely for themselves. And I would put a whole lot of money on that the videos we see are not the only videos being made. So YouTube has taken a huge amount of these videos down, and I'm glad that they have, but I don't think that they've taken enough down. And the interesting thing about this, that this content may actually not even be monetized, because on the 15th of July, YouTube updated their terms of service and, quote, "We're making a minor update to our repetitious content policy to better clarify. This includes content that is repetitive or mass-produced. We are also renaming this policy from repetitious content to inauthentic content. This type of content has always been ineligible for monetization under our existing policies, where creators are rewarded for original and authentic content. There is no change to our reused content policy, which reviews content like commentary clips, compilations, and reaction videos." And like, while it's possible, completely possible, that this particular channel has fallen through the cracks and this is all for money, although considering all of this is shorts and the views are quite low, like really quite low on them, they wouldn't be making a huge amount of money off it, which is what also makes me think that this is being done for other reasons, other kind of self-serving reasons. So something that I've been wrestling with in my mind is I am uncomfortable with this content. I think it's clear that I'm saying that I don't think this is okay to be on YouTube. And I always try to catch my own biases and challenge them and think about them, because I think it's healthy to do so. And you might, when you do that, come back to the same conclusion anyway, but especially when something is rooted in my programming from my mother and from my family, I always want to analyze it. So here's the conflict that I'm having and why I think I'm having it. I am not okay with this content about Eugenia being up on YouTube, but I've also been quoted as saying that when it comes to Amber Lynn and her totally ex-girlfriend, definitely still not together situation, that I kind of view it as I have a bit of a live and let live, consenting adults can do consenting adult things. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with my Amber Lynn content, Amber is, let's say, in the same condition as Eugenia, but the opposite end of the spectrum. And her girlfriend that she claims to be broken up with at the moment, but I do think there's a little bit of a back and forth going on. It's a whole thing. But this woman was discovered to have a certain predilection for Amber's type of person. And this photo surfaced. Now, this photo is not of the girlfriend and Amber Lynn. This is a photo of the girlfriend and the girlfriend's now past partner. She, some say, got up to £1,000, others say £700, but it's a lot, right? And she ultimately succumbed to her condition. And there was a lot of controversy at the time that this came out that Amber Lynn is with a person with this kind of predilection, and in Amber's situation, that is potentially risky. And of course, I took the stance that consenting adults are consenting adults. Now, why I say this is actually highlighted, I think it was in a Geordie live stream. Oh Lordy, it's Geordie. So the woman who had passed, he spoke to that woman's brother. And ultimately, oh Lordy, it's Geordie wanted to know, did the brother blame Amber's girlfriend for the unaliving of his sister? The brother said no, that didn't factor in his mind, because ultimately his sister was on this path anyway, and regardless of the partner that she'd chosen and their predilection, this would have been the outcome anyway, because this was just the path that she was on. I do think that there's something to be said for adults having the freedom to do what they want with their own bodies. But if that's the way I feel, and bear with me here, Nuggets, there's a train of thought. If that's the way I feel, then why do I feel like this kind of content is not okay about Eugenia? And I do think there's something to be said for the fact that Eugenia herself is not putting up these videos. And Eugenia has put up eccentric interest style videos in the past of like her struggling on the beach, trying to open the beach chair. We're going to get to all of those. So she has created this kind of content. And also in old Twitch streams, she'd like try and pick up a really heavy makeup box. And that is all part of it, right? That's part of what these people are interested in. Am I more okay with that happening? Yes, because Eugenia is herself as an adult making these decisions, which also sparks a whole lot of other questions in my mind. But here's what I think is happening in my mind, because I'm always really conscious that I think societally, for the most part, there is a bit of a double standard when we're looking at conditions of, say, Eugenia compared to Amber Lynn, right? There tends to be a lot more sympathy and wanting to help when it's Eugenia's side of things, and then not so much, and that it's a choice and things like that when it's Amber Lynn's side of things. And I also catch myself with this bias and I hate it. It's been programmed and I try to catch it every time. So I grew up in the 90s. And when I grew up, people like Kate Moss was really popular. Everywhere you looked, all of these pop stars, all of these actresses were so tiny. And H chic, H being the first letter of a very hard substance, H chic was a thing, and the thigh gap was a thing, and this is what we grew up with, and this is what was drilled into us, and in my case also by my mother, and also very heavily by my family. So I think in essence that also spawned a whole bunch of awareness around these kind of conditions. And so we were hearing a great deal about the mental health side and the wellness, and how to not go too far. You still got to watch it, but don't go too far, right? That was kind of the message. And what that kind of does by not speaking about the other end of the spectrum is it kind of makes it sound like, to break it down simply, well, it's super fun to eat cake and it's not fun to not eat cake. So one of them is a really massive set of sacrifices while the other one is just complete indulgence, when in actual fact, they're both complete indulgence, just in different ways. They're both elements of a loss of control and trying to grasp at that control. And I think that that's where it tips the scales, not pun intended, on how we see these two different things. I feel like within myself, if I'm going to say that Amber's situation is okay, if Eugenia was to get into the same sort of relationship, I should also say that that's okay. But then it brings up a whole lot of questions around brain function and, that's what we're going to get into, along with the predilections and everything involved. I've done a lot of research. And this is the kind of content that I want to speak about without having to mind the words that I'm using and be able to just speak about it clearly, because I started to write a script for this section. It's like every other word starts to need an innuendo, and I think it's going to pull the content down too much. So this is where we're going to leave off from the free viewing section and move on into the uncut, uncensored version. So if you're still here with me and you've gotten through all of this content, let me know what you think. I really appreciate that you've watched the whole thing. We have a huge amount to go through. So if you want to catch me on members or on Patreon, remember that you can just purchase the one-off video. You don't have to sign up for a subscription, but I think all of the services you can cancel at any time anyway. So there's also a bunch of ad-free content over on my Patreon as well. And this might be a future common thing, because I think it's important to talk about some of these topics, and censorship becomes a real issue. I am ultimately using YouTube as the platform and I need to adhere to their rules. So if you're still here, thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. And that is all the clucks I have left to give. Stay golden, my little nuggets, and I'll catch you next time.
Hey, 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 hey! I'm gonna go watch another video. Let's go!